Hi everyone, welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open City video lesson. Today we are discussing about the contributions of Karl Marx to the society and for the welfare of the society. This is the topic which is meant for BA Sociology first year semester 1 students of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open City. It is very important to know about the contributions of Karl Marx for the welfare of the society and development of the society. Karl Marx is a different scholar, eminent scholar in different fields of the different disciplines. Today, we are having an eminent expert, Dr. Vinita Pandey, Assistant Professor of Sociology, Veeranari Chakali Ailamma, Women's University, Koti, Hyderabad. Madam will explain about the contributions of Karl Marx to the sociology as well as to the society. Madam, first what is the necessity of knowing about the Karl Marx in this era?
So, thank you for inviting me to BR Ambedkar Open University. And I'm not an expert on Karl Marx, I'm a student of sociology. And as a student of sociology, I was always fascinated by Karl Marx for the simple reason that, like, see, your first question is a very pertinent question, that why we should read Karl Marx. So, as I was telling, as a student of sociology, this fascinated me. And you will not believe, even almost all after 200 years of his writings, sociologists read Karl Marx, economists read, public administrators read, political scientists definitely read, and of course, this has also inspired an entire genre of political systems also. Several political parties globally also have taken inspiration from Karl Marx. So now the question arises, why we should study Karl Marx? See, Karl Marx's writings can be seen from multiple perspectives. You can see Karl Marx's writings from the perspective of social stratification. You can also understand Marx from conflict perspective. In fact, he is one of the brightest stars in conflict perspective thinking, for that matter. So apart from stratification and conflict, we can also study Karl Marx in terms of social change, because he was the one who very strongly propagated that conflict is one of the most significant resources of social change. And when you compare his writings, his contributions, his concepts, you will be able to relate it with the things which is happening all over the world in today's time. For example, if I have to talk about caste as a stratification system, how the conflicts have entered caste as a stratification system, then how that will also lead to change. Though Karl Marx writings revolve around capitalism and the entire stratification around capitalism, but his very concept will help us understand today's stratification system also. They will help us understand that how in this conflicting times we can utilize this conflict to bring positive social change. And I personally feel, sir, that today is the best time and the most important time where and when Karl Marx becomes very, very relevant, keeping in view the socio-economic and geopolitical conditions not only in India but across the world. And that is why it would be my request and suggestion to every student to definitely read Karl Marx theories and his concepts in detail.
Okay, madam, thank you.
Sir.
So, what is the idea or views of Karl Marx on class and stratification?
Right. Now, sir, because by virtue of you teaching this paper also, you are also an expert on Karl Marx thinking. So, for as my friends already know that class is the most important unit of Karl Marx theory. So now the question comes, like, first I will talk about class, then I will relate it with social
Okay.
stratification. Like in Karl Marx ideology, class is straight away connected with your mode of production. So what is this mode of production? It is the way society is producing its goods and services. And by and large, there are two modes of production. One is land, one is the industry. So owners of the land will belong to one class, non-owners to the land will belong to another class. Similarly, owners of industries will belong to one class and non-owners of the industry will belong to another class. So, in this, Karl Marx explanation of class revolves around mode of production. So, now owners, non-owners, see you already a stratification is created here. So, owners belong to superordinate class, non-owners belong to subordinate class. So, though he uses the concept of mode of production to explain class, but class is also a critical element of social stratification. Society gets stratified on the basis of the classes, and that is why to understand Karl Marx theory completely, we have to understand what is class and how that is also connected with mode of production, and how because of that society gets stratified. And this is a man-made stratification, this is not a natural stratification or differentiation.
Okay, madam. So, we have very much higher contribution for the capitalism.
Yes.
There are different views on capitalism. Can you explain about the view of Karl Marx on capitalism?
Yes, sir. In fact, Karl Marx very popular writings are Das Kapital,
Das
which is
Kapital.
published into multiple volumes. See, if I have to explain Karl Marx theory, I am not going to explain the whole theory as such. Now, if we have to understand Karl Marx theory, we can understand it in three parts. First part is what he speaks about subsistence economy. Second part is the epochs, how he divides entire Western history into four main epochs, and the third part is the capitalist part. Now, for Karl Marx, capitalism is a kind of economic system which is connected with how capital, that is how money is being generated. And his entire notion of capitalism revolves around industrial revolution, which led to formation and creation of industries. So, in Karl Marx theory of capitalism, industries become the mode of production, and the owners of this mode of production, who are the capitalists or who are also called as bourgeoisie, they belong to one strata, they belong to one class, and the proletariat, which is the working class, that becomes the subordinate class. And what he is saying, see, to explain capitalism, he is also using beautiful terms like historical materialism, dialectical materialism. So basically, in his theory of capitalism, he is saying that there are two classes. Capitalist stage itself is categorized into two classes. The beauty of these two classes is what? They are interdependent on each other, but still they are in conflict with each other. To explain you in a very simple way, like owners of the industries, they will not be able to manage without the working class. So owners are dependent on workers. Similarly, workers are dependent for wages on the owners. So there is a relationship of interdependence between these two. But this relationship of interdependence becomes a conflicting relationship. This happens in capitalism also, and this has happened in the previous epochs also, which we will be discussing. So capitalism is, I would say, is one of the most significant pillars in Karl Marx theory of stratification and social change, and especially the third part of his theory, which revolves around capitalism. Multiple concepts are associated with it. For example, polarization, pauperization, and class in itself, which we will be discussing in our subsequent sessions as well.
Okay, madam, thank you. So, what is your opinion on the class struggle of Karl Marx?
Now, class struggle is, a very interesting phenomenon to be studied. Uh, Karl Marx's beautiful statement is there: all history of mankind hitherto is history of class struggle. So, this statement itself gives us a clear cut feeling of what Marx is thinking. See, Marx very, very clearly has communicated that if you have to understand history of mankind, you have to understand history of class struggle. So in this, we will also discuss about the epochs, what Karl Marx said, because Karl Marx is saying that class struggle happens at every stage except for the first stage. In primitive stage where there are no classes, so it is primitive communism. In second epoch, he is where we come to ancient stage, there are masters and slaves. Then during feudal stage, there are nobles and serfs. Then in capitalist stage, there is bourgeoisie and proletariat. So you see, in all these three epochs, right, the two classes, masters is exploiting the slaves, nobles are exploiting the serfs, bourgeoisie are exploiting the proletariats, despite the fact that they are dependent on them. So what is happening, like as a master my interest is different, as a slave my interest is different. So there is class struggle. The class interest of nobles is different, class interest of serfs is different. So there is again class interest is different, there is a struggle between the classes. Similar logic applies to this also. So class struggle is a critical phenomenon in Karl Marx's theory of exploitation of conflict and social change, and it is the class struggle which leads to sustained conflict according to Karl Marx.
Okay, madam, thank you. So, what is surplus value, or what is the concept of alienation?
Yes, it's a very good question, sir. Again, this is connected with capitalism. If you permit me, I will slightly go in detail with
Okay, please.
capitalism. Now, see, when factories are there, there are owners, there are workers, bourgeoisie, capitalists, proletariats, workers. Now, what happens is, now let us say capitalist is there. His entire manufacturing cost, let us say, is 100 rupees. He produced a particular good in 100 rupees. Now he is selling that good in 250 rupees. So how much he is earning? He is getting 150 rupees additional on that investment what he made. So now, ethically speaking, morally speaking, he is supposed to share that extra 150 rupees with the working class also, right? Morally and ethically speaking. Now this 150 rupees, this is the surplus value. It means, surplus value means what? Additional value of the product what the capitalist, what the owner of the factory is getting. And how he is getting this surplus value? With the work of the labor class. So this surplus value is used as profits by the capitalist. So what capitalists will do, instead of sharing that 150 rupees with the working class, they will again invest this as a capital, and that is how their surplus value is again reinvested, and that is used as their money, but it is not shared with the worker class. So surplus value, in a very simplest language if I have to tell you, it is the profit which is taken away by the capitalist despite the worker working on it relentlessly, putting all his efforts. And from this concept comes alienation. Now imagine a person or a laborer who has worked in a Mercedes-Benz car company, right? Is he in a position to buy that car? No. Until and unless there are other sources, he is not in a position to buy so. So here what is happening? The product which the worker made, putting all his time, effort,
Skill.
hard work, everything he put into that particular product. Now that product is standing alien to him. He is not able to have any control over the product. So the product on which he spent his time, effort, everything, that product is standing in opposition to him. He is feeling alienated from that product, because despite making this product, he has no control over the product as such. Like, aliens come from outside the earth. No, they are not part of earth. Similarly, Marx uses that word to tell that the product what worker has made, that is become an alien to him. So he is alienated from his own self, he is alienated from the community, he is alienated from his neighborhood, because he has put all his time and effort to manufacture or to produce that particular product.
Okay, thank you, madam. So, what is the concept of class for itself and class in itself?
Now see, that is what I said, like, Karl Marx is Karl Marx because only he can think like this. When you say class in itself, it is like any class and their relationship with mode of production. Whenever a class develops class consciousness and class solidarity, class in itself becomes class for itself. So how this happens, if I may explain you slightly in detail with your permission. In this, what happens is, when the worker class is constantly being exploited, as I told you, surplus value is not being shared, they are alienated, all the surplus value they are using as profits, so they are becoming richer and richer, and the working class is becoming poorer and poorer. So what is happening? The socio-economic distance between these two classes is increasing. This is what you call as class polarization. So what happens? When the subordinate class, working class, is constantly being exploited, a point will come, a thought will come that we are putting all our efforts into this, but still why are we not getting anything in turn? So that thought of realization, that is what is class consciousness. The proletariats become aware that they are being exploited and they have to stop this exploitation. But a single labor cannot do that, so they have to unite. So that class consciousness leads to class solidarity. So Karl Marx is saying that whenever a normal class, a economic class, right, whenever it develops that consciousness and unites, there is a solidarity, class in itself will become class for itself. And this is what would lead to proletariat revolution also.
Okay, madam, thank you. Please throw some light on the how proletariat revolution takes place.
Yes. So you beautifully you asked this subsequently, it's really nice. Now when there is class solidarity, class consciousness, a class has become class for itself, then what happens? There is a revolt. This revolt for their rights, for the rights of the workers, for the right of the proletariat class. So when proletariat revolution takes place, here we have to understand one thing. See, proletariat revolution will take place only when class in itself becomes class for itself. Without this class in itself becoming class for itself, proletariat revolution will not take place. So now what happens? Before proletariat revolution, bourgeoisie are on top, proletariat is subordinate. Now proletariat revolution takes place. After proletariat revolution, what happens? Proletariats are on top, bourgeoisie are on the subordinate class. Reverse. It becomes reverse. Now Karl Marx makes such a fantastic statement. He says, whether bourgeoisie are on top or whether proletariat are on top, right? Both are the situations of imbalance. This cannot be permitted, because whenever one class is on the top and is dictating terms to the subordinate class, the equilibrium of the society gets disturbed. and that is why he says that this is after proletariat revolution, when proletariats become powerful, that is also a temporary phase, and finally a new era will herald where bourgeoisie and proletariat, they will be together, and this is what is the communist stage. So when you read Karl Marx four epochs, he mentions about primitive stage, ancient stage, feudal stage, capitalist stage, and after proletariat revolution taking place in capitalist stage, the stage will end and it will lead to a new stage which is called as communist stage, where both the classes are on par with each other. This kind of equation is not there. Neither proletariat is on top, neither bourgeoisie are on top, both are on the same level, and this stage is of communist stage.
Can you tell about the how he has analyzed the materialism?
See, like, in his theory, you will come across two very beautiful terms: historical materialism and dialectical materialism. In fact, his very theory of capitalism, see, capitalism is straight away connected with materialism. Why am I saying so? Because when capital is generated, what is the purpose of generating capital? To have ownership of the resources, and that ownership of resources itself is reflecting materialism. So in historical materialism and in dialectical materialism, Karl Marx is trying to tell us that how historical forces, historical economic forces have created a system where material resources have got divided between the two classes, and that is why he gives this theory, this concept of four main epochs to explain us. Like, say for example, during ancient stage, where there are two classes, masters and slaves. So here masters are owners of all the material resources they have. Similarly, nobles will have all the material resources. So in fact, Karl Marx theory, it wouldn't be wrong to say that Karl Marx theory soul is materialism, because the conflict also takes place because of material resources. One class controlling the material resources, that is why conflict also takes place. So materialism is in direct and indirect presence throughout the theory of Karl Marx.
Okay, madam, thank you. Can you suggest certain wonderful or eminent works done by the Karl Marx?
See, Karl Marx was basically had a very strong communist ideology for that matter, and he inspired multiple writings. He has written extensively about Das Kapital, which I already mentioned. He has also spoken about, in his one of the major contributions is also about how religion is used as the opium of the masses. Because again, he, in his contribution, Karl Marx is telling us that how religion is used by the superordinate class to have control over the subordinate class by using religion as a social institution. So his contributions basically are around Das Kapital, and he has also written extensively about class struggle and how various other social institutions have contributed in the development and evolution of the capitalist society. So his contributions basically revolve around capitalism and capitalistic style of living.
Madam, what is about the contribution of Communist Manifesto by the Karl Marx?
Yes. See, Communist Manifesto, like he was very much inspired by Engels and Hegel. They worked together on various documents, including Communist Manifesto. I think Communist Manifesto inspires even today multiple political parties, and it is basically an idea of how after proletariat revolution we will herald into a era, we will herald into a stage where material resources will be equally distributed. So probably Communist Manifesto throws that idea, it gives that idea for society to think that how we can generate equality and equity by appropriate distribution of material resources in the society, so that no one becomes the pure owners forever and no one becomes only the worker in that particular material resource. So his contribution to Communist Manifesto is phenomenal, and I think that Communist Manifesto is continuing to inspire young generations even today for that matter.
So, one simple question, madam.
Sir.
So, what is the similarity and what is the difference between Hegel and Marx?
I don't think there is so much of difference. At a later stage, they both fell apart as far as the writings communicate. But I don't think I'm in a position to answer this question appropriately. But I think Hegel and Karl Marx coming together has definitely strengthened and evolved sociology as a discipline to a great extent.
So, thank you madam for explaining about the various concepts of Karl Marx and his contribution to the conflict theory. Concepts like class struggle, stratification, alienation, surplus value and proletarianism and whatever the revolution and the whatever the observations of Karl Marx about the society and about the future of the society also. As a multidisciplinary, his thoughts will reflect the ideas of the our learners and which will help for the betterment of the society. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for inviting me to B.R. Ambedkar Open University. And I am sure Karl Marx will become one of your favorite thinkers. All our young friends, I request you all to definitely understand and explore various dimensions of Karl Marx theory, because I feel even today there are several dimensions which have not been fully explored. So, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.